Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast, the champions of Scotland, Celtic FC. Yeah! And cheers, everyone who's watching. I have my beer open. Ross, what are you on?
I'm on a wee New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
And there's a Scott Brown. What's happening, Dunn? What are you on, Anthony?
Good evening, panel. Champions, post to you all. I'm having a lovely Cronenberg 1664 tonight, which I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last time a team for Ibrox won a trophy with fans in. So, yeah, we're good to go.
Lad, he's never drank Cronenberg in his life, but he bought it for that joke.
And we also welcome back Andrew Durning from That Melbourne Ginger Show. How are you? Are you drinking anything? Or are you on the minding the kids duty?
I am on a fantastic Coke Zero with a hint of vanilla.
Oh.
But for the slightly poofy Celtic fan.
Oh, I don't know if you can say that.
Surely we're above Colin.
But
I'll do that, guys. Thank you for asking me.
Perfect, man. And, I mean, we're all in good moods here. Like, everyone's laughing and joking along. Anthony cracked it with that joke to start us off. And come to yourself, Ross, first. We've wrapped up the league title. How do you feel?
I feel just champion, kid. I feel brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed the game. What I can remember it. Evening Jeff, evening Lanky, evening all. I had a good wee drinking Wednesday night. I was a bit worse for wear on Thursday at my work, but all worth it to see them. Well, they've not lifted the trophy yet, but to see them clinch it eventually, absolutely brilliant feeling. It was what we set out to do at the start of the season, and we've achieved it. We've also got another cup into the bargain. It's a double season in Angie's first year. Could we have asked for much more? You could win the Scottish Cup, but when you look at where we came from to where we are now, and it's just fantastic. And already you can see for his press conference today that we're planning for next season. We've not even lifted the trophy yet, and the moves are being made. Everything that Celtic are doing now is Ange has changed the culture for me. And every single thing that Celtic are doing now is how you want it to be done. They're getting their business done quick. They're planning ahead. Everything that we asked for last season is now happening. But whether it be by design or accident, Ange is here, and he's taking us on a journey that I'm on this bus, and I'm loving it.
100%. Glasgow Celtic champions, lads. We are champions again. And Lanky67 comes in and he asks, when do we get Brownie? No, it's Anthony. He just spit the image. But Anthony, how you feeling? I mean, wrapped up the league title, Postecoglou full of emotion. The players lapped it all up. I mean, we'll go on to the result, obviously, but just that emotion, it was just ecstatic. I was with my granda watching it, and all we could do was just be like, wow, 10 or 11 years, we're champions. Back on top of the perch where we belong.
Absolutely, Stephen. It's just like the rest of you guys. We tuned in on Wednesday night. The fire stick was playing a little bit. So I went up to my big sisters to watch the second half, and it was absolutely brilliant. You just seen Tannadice. It's proven to be. We're going to touch on that in a wee while, but it's quite a We've had some ups and downs up there when it comes to winning the league championship, but it was one of the nights. As I say, it would have been nice to have rounded it off with a win, but even in the last few minutes, when in the house you're roaring them to try and get the winning goal, you could see Callum McGregor and Joe Hart directing them to just play the ball, side to side and just see the game out. So that's obviously been an order from Ange himself. Just see it out. The title's won. And the celebrations can begin in earnest. But like you guys have touched on, from where we've came this time last year, we done the reaction pod when it was announced that Eddie Howe was not going to be taking over after months of speculation that he would be. I'm not going to dwell on who got that prediction right, but the man knows. That's just and from there we could not have imagined where we would have been. And even the first few games into the season, we lost 3 of the first 6, and the big man himself says, we were practically playing with zero room for error from then on in. which we duly did. That's now 31 league games, if I'm not mistaken, without defeat. It's an incredible run, and we're going to finish now with Brendan's first season, I believe, where we obviously broke the record with 106 point total. I think this will be the highest that we've actually accumulated, and for about the last 7-8 years out with Brendan's season. So it's been an incredible effort for all the players. I think we're at 90 now, Ross. I might be a couple out, but I think we can finish with 93. Maybe Alistair or Jed in the group chat might be able to correct me on that, but it's an incredible total for where we were, and what this man has done is absolutely incredible. And the great thing, as Ross alluded to, we're always going to be selfish and you want more, but the thing is, even as fans, we can see where there will be room for improvement, and what this winning this title now gives us, one of the best things that we've had in years that we've not had, is a summer of not having to worry about getting guys in for qualifiers and all these, all foregone places of the world. We're in that group stage draw. My half day is already put in with the work, so I'm just getting off to watch it. I'm hoping for a Real Madrid or a Liverpool, but listen, that's just what happens when you're at the top table.
By the way,
thank you, Bruni.
Ange alluded to that, what Anthony's talking about there. We don't have these qualifiers anymore, or for however long it's got to be. And he said in his presser the day that we can do our business with certainty, because previously, and he's sort of lucky that way that it's landed like that, but you can do your business with certainty, and you're not doing your business with, are we buying for the Champions League, or we're buying but we might not get in the Champions League, so you don't know what. It's just great to be in a position where you're definitely going to be in that tournament and you can buy for that tournament.
Mm-hmm. I think he alluded to the fact as well, he didn't know if it was a limbo budget for Europa League or Champions League or that kind of thing, and he is happy that there's going to be a period where you can recruit, especially with Mark Lowell coming in. But Andrew, coming to yourself, I mean, Lanky 67's back in here. As Dave King said, we'll fall like a pack of cards. He sent more like 52 titles. But, I mean, how do you feel? As these guys explained pretty well, I mean, from where we are now under Ange Postecoglou, you see the reaction like in Japan and Australia, Asia, there's everyone interviewing Celtic players, and Tom Rosick, all them types of players getting interviewed. It seems to be worldwide coverage. He's done a fantastic job, hasn't he?
Well, I will start off with my normal composed self and say it's been a much better season than a lot of people had predicted. It's been a tighter race for the title than anyone could have imagined. It played some great football all round. It's been fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And now I'm going to put my Celtic hat on, guys.
Get it on. That's it. Get them medals out. Get the medals out.
About time! Oh, this is so good. Oh, man. I work in an office surrounded by Rangers fans. All I have heard for the last week is in Seville. Oh, my goodness, it's great to be back and just have that little moment in the sun where I was just walking in with a smile on my face, like, I don't need to say much. What? I don't need to say anything. It was a good run, better than I expected. But they have played absolutely fantastic. From the 31 game, unbeaten run, the highest points total this will be since the 5 out of the 9 in a row, I believe. If anybody wants to correct me in the comments, please feel free to do so. We've had some heart-stopping moments, like definitely you can see where the team is still a bit in the work in progress, but it's just been fantastic. I'd said right at the start, see if we were challenging for top 2 and putting up a good fight, I would have been more than happy. I am bloody ecstatic, my fellow boys. It's been brilliant.
Oh, it's been absolutely incredible. And Anthony was right to point out the fact that Tannadice is quite a history maker when it comes to league titles with Celtic. And I was looking back, Anthony, at some of the old footage, and you go back to that time when Tommy Burns died, God rest his soul. Celtic were the week after. I was an emotional title. Finnegar Heslink, much like Yakamaka, scored with a brilliant header. And you think about Tannadice, you look at the 2 stands the Celtic usually occupy. Ross is absolutely knackered. The Celtic usually occupy.
I apologise. Don't away with that.
But you're right to point out, I mean, you think of Finnegar Haslick and Tommy Burns all had them t-shirts on after. You look to it now, it's like an emotional, it's like a journey, isn't it? I don't know what it is with Tannadice, but it seems to come up when we're least expecting it, when we're winning titles.
Well, there's a kind of romantic symmetry about Tannadice and Celtic. First of all, I have to say, the overwhelming majority of Dundee United fans are brilliant, because I've been up there a few times, and obviously they're passionate fans, but the United fans are generally the good folk for Dundee. So fair play to them for two full stands on Wednesday night. But like you say, in 1981, Tommy Burns actually was part of the team. He scored the fourth goal, I think, in a victory, which clinched the title for us up there in 1981. The next time we won it at Tannadice was the year where Tommy sadly passed away. Like you say, Stephen and Jan Vennegaard brought it home that night, and it was a title against all odds. Similar to this year, It just looked like it was getting away from us, and we galvanised with 7-8 games to go and went on an amazing run and brought it home on the final night. And then you look to last season where the club just looked in the absolute doldrums. We had to not drop points up at Tannadice to keep just the league going another week, and we kind of sort of fell at the first hurdle. It was a very weak and soft defence title. We thought we'd even try and keep it going until the derby the following week, but it meant that they arrived as champions, and you think, can it get any worse? And then this year, like a phoenix from the ashes, risen under the leadership of Big Ange, and thanks to him and the effort of all his coaching staff and the playing staff, the title's back where it belongs.
100%, and the comments are going crazy. I do appreciate all the interaction. Phil Tomlinson comes in, champions. Yes, we are, Phil. We absolutely love it. And coming to yourself, I mean, Andrew, you look at, as Anthony rightly pointed out, it's like a symmetry. All these years it links up to something. Tommy Burns, Finnegar Haslick, Yakimakas, Postecoglou, Gordon Sackton, whoever it may be. It's just, as he said, we kind of rose. No one expected this. And as you said rightly at the start, you were kind of going, well, we challenge. If we're challenging, they'll be happy. If we're doing this or second, couple points off, it'll be a successful season. But you look back on a 9, even though it's not finished, we'll have a big party to go to tomorrow. But it's just a fantastic thing, isn't it? Seeing the 2 stands filled at Tannadice and us just going there and taking over.
Yeah, definitely, my friend. Again, I'm just so happy. It's played out better than a lot of Celtic fans could have expected. The rebuild that was on our hands, let's not lie, it was a shit show. Absolute shambles. We did not think that everything in the summer that could have went wrong was going wrong, but people were leaving left, right, and centre. Eddie Howe was like, what's happening here? What is he coming? Is he no coming? And then it's like, oh no, I'm no coming, and we have to scramble, and we were all like, Posta who? Who's this guy? And then also we had the defeats, the Champions League group stage, and we had the defeats at the start of the season. We were like, oh no, what are we getting into here? What is happening? And then it was just all of a sudden it just clicked. It was like someone just went up to them and just went, oh, right, that's you, on you go, and just flying. I personally think Callum McGregor needs to just wear that face mask like for the rest of his career, kind of like what Petr Cech had when he had the injury. He just seems to have ramped up his game since then. And I would be quite surprised that if his face is actually fine and it was just all footballers or professional athletes have their superstitions. That might just be the case. He was just like, no, we're on a good run here. I will only take this off when the run stops. What?
Yeah, 100%. It's just it's feeling of just ecstatic, isn't it? And Jed Thomas comes in. Big shout out to Ange to win this 55th league title at Celtic, Ross. 100%. A great comment.
That's how it works. That's the logic.
Yeah, I was looking back as well. There's some old faces that actually still with Celtic at the minute. You've got Nick Manus, who's on the coaching staff, who's with it. So I mean, then you're thinking of Jamesy Forrest, who came through not so long after, and all these guys. And I know we're going to go on to Tom Rodgers and Near Beaton. People are asking about that. We are going to come on to it. But again, just like the guy said, Tannadice, Celtic, it just goes, doesn't it?
Aye. I have to say, probably out with Rangers. Games against Dundee United in my time watching Celtic are probably some of the most memorable games. You look over the years, late comebacks with Andy Tom and Van Hooijdonk, which I've spoke about previously on this podcast. The Coca-Cola Cup semi-final, final, sorry, at Ibrox, a season when Janssen came in, similar to this season. And there's been numerous other games. I can't think off the top of my head. And then obviously what Anthony's alluded to in terms of the times we've won and lost it at Tannadice, it's just synonymous. And once again, we've went there. We're probably going to touch on the game in a bit. Wasn't the greatest performance, but like Anthony sort of alluded to as well, towards the end, it was an acceptance. Okay, there was a bit in the last couple of minutes we could have really tried to go for it, and then I think they've said to themselves, like, go for this here, and then lose the ball, and Dundee United go up then and maybe get, a late goal, then it rolls on for another week. Just see it out. You've got your point. You're happy with the point, and that's what they've done. And aye, it's just brilliant, man.
Incredible. Incredible.
Or as like Ange said in his press conference today, bloody brilliant.
Exactly. I just want to say evening to McGranda, who's watching along, as always. Good to have you on with us. And comment your Celtic game, Ross. We are going to touch on the game, and we'll do that right now. As you said, it wasn't a pretty result, but the point got us the league title. Yes, we all wanted to win, but I think as you said, as the game wore on, the acceptance kind of came in that it was going to be a draw. We're going to clinch the league title anyway. Everywhere just got in the party mode. I don't think anyone was watching the match at some points. It was everyone's doing the huddle and celebrating and just singing songs and that. But the game itself, touching upon it quickly, because there's not really much talking points. What was your overall summary of it?
It was, I think, once again, they controlled the majority of the game. It wasn't the best performance. It was a bit nervy. Not a lot happening. Dundee United are a stuffy team. They've proved that over the, four times we've played them now? Certainly in the league anyway. And every single time, bar the game that we were all together watching.
What a game.
Every other game they've given us a real tough game. I think it was one each. It was one each at Parkhead. I think we beat them 1-0 in the last minute. So it was, you were never going to go. It was part of sort of atmosphere for the Hearts game. At the start of the Hearts game, we all knew it was coming, and I think you go there and you've got the party head on, if you like, but at the end of the day, it was still a tough game, no matter how you look at it. And it proved to be, and then that coupled with the fact that we were trying to get over the line, there was probably a bit of nerves. There wasn't a standout performer. There was guys in the team that just simply done their job like that they have done throughout the season. Your Cal McGregors, your Carter Vickers, guys like that. My favourite moment of the match was, other than Jake Macca's goal, was when the moment with Joe Hart and Ralston. I think Ralston does Ralston clear it or something? I can't remember. But then he does that, and it's just like they know, like there's that sort of kind of jokery about it. Don't think jokery is a word, but we'll go with that. And then, but it was like that, just like the willingness and the want to stop a goal going in. And I know it was massive because Dundee United scored, then it goes on for another week. But that moment just sort of speaks volumes about this team that Ange is building and has built so far. I just think they all look like they're best pals. They're all in it together. There's no cliques. There's no favourites. It's just a good, solid team, and we've got an abundance of talent as well. And I know some of that is leaving in the summer, but it's Celtic. They guys have been amazing for us, and we'll touch on them. But it's Celtic. We roll on, and there'll be new heroes.
Never stop.
We never stop. There'll be new heroes coming. We lost Scott Brown, an absolute legend to the club. Cal McGregor fills those shoes, and we roll on.
Well, say to be fair, we didn't lose Scott Brown. He's sitting down the bottom of the screen there if you look closely. Well, I mean, Alistair Jack comes in, and I think this is a lovely comment. Can I just say thank you for the pod this year? Boys, keep them coming and talking piss. Yeah, we do talk piss, and we appreciate that comment as well, because it's all you guys' interaction and the comments that make it. We all love the interactions, so keep it coming. It's fairly flan tonight with the kind of community we've built up for ourselves. They're all talking to each other, which is good to see. But after coming to yourself, there was a wee couple of surprises within the starting lineup. Well, one major one for me was Forrest was starting again. And to be fair, to eat my words a wee bit, he looked okay. He looked decent. He looked like he was trying to take people on again. And I know we're going to touch on the new Daily sign, but like Ross, brief summary, what did you think of the game?
Yeah, pretty much what Ross said, Stephen. There's not much more to add in terms of the analysis of the match. Like you say, it was one of those, similar to Hearts, it was a strange atmosphere because you're sort of, we know the league's won, but it's not quite official yet, so you can't go too mental. But, you know, it's just one of those sort of strange circumstances. And the fans were going up there in the same sort of sense where, like we say, we know that the title's been won for a couple of weeks now, but they just wanted to be there when it became official. In terms of the match itself, as Ross alluded to, it was a tough game, and Dundee United, more often than not, will always give you a game, and they were more than up for it. I was quite surprised myself to see James Forrest starting, but I do agree. I thought he looked sharp. Maybe his first half performance was so good that it's clearly convinced Ange to give him a new 3-year contract. So it's so good. I'm delighted for him personally. I was there at Almondvale a few weeks back when he scored the goal that sealed our victory that day, and I would argue that goal going in was the day that we kind of knew that it was ours to lose now, because Almondvale was the last sort of banana skin. We obviously had the massive game to go at Ibrox, but we don't fear going there, fans or no fans. And but getting that long overdue win at the Tony Macaroni, just that kind of lit the pressure valve off for me. We went back into the bar afterwards that night, 99.9% convinced that the title was coming home, as long as we didn't mess up in the weeks to come. And we just steamrolled over the rest of the league in those said weeks and brought the trophy back to where it belongs.
31 games unbeaten. Fantastic record, isn't it? And Andrew, Paul Dack comes in here, says, got to remember Dundee United were pushing for Europe and actually scored a cracking goal. I think it was Levitt. He's on loan from United, isn't he? Manchester United. But about the game, I seen a clip today. I don't know if you've seen it. Andrew, sadly kind of released clips of us going back into the Champions League to kind of obviously boost season ticket renewals. And at the end of it, it showed you Tony Watt scoring that famous goal against Barcelona. And the player celebrating first with him was Charlie Mulgrew. And them two come on together for Dundee United against us at the game there. It's just crazy. But again, the game itself, the draw got us the league, didn't it?
It did indeed. I was at that game, the 2-1 game, and it's still one of the best atmospheres of my life. But there's nothing really that I can add to what either Ross or Anthony has said, aside from job done. And as they mentioned in the comments, Dundee United have been playing really well. They know how to break the opposition down. They know how to keep them contained. It was a peach of a goal. Tam Courts has done brilliant for them, but at the end of the night, it belonged to us. The only thing we needed to do was not lose, and we did just that.
100%. And it's the league title. It's back home where it belongs. And a couple of our comments I want to read out here. The Celtic Supporters Podcast, welcome along, even to yourselves who are watching. And actually, that reminds me, a big shout out to Russell Bhoys. He actually does past 100 episodes on his Boise bus. So anyone who's on this,
wee milestone.
Go and watch his show after us.
More than happy to give him his shout out back. He gave us a lot of continues to give us a lot of support, and he was joined in on the quiz the night when it was our 100th episode. So well done, mate. And we'll hopefully get him back on here very soon. He can park his bus up at Endless Celts HQ.
Have a few beers, Have a few beers in the league title. Jed Thomas comes in. Leveson was 100% the turning point. Right, and I want to come straight back at you, Andrew, about this James Forrest thing. He signed a new deal, 3 years. Now, I personally think that's wrong. Not being harsh, he'll be into his 35th year in terms of age. Yes, he's come on and he's looked okay. He's played well. He's 31 now.
Oh, I thought you meant he was 35 the new. I was like,
no.
It's in that ledge.
I'm not that bad. But you look at it, we've given a long contract to McCarthy, who's absolutely useless. He just warms the seat in that bench, and that's saying James Forrest is turning that, not at all. But just thinking from the kind of prospects, Dembele, Abadu on the right, maybe a 1-year extension for Forrest. What do you think?
I agree with you, Stephen. I don't think it's earned. I don't think. Well, yes, he had a good game against Dundee, but one swallow doesn't make a summer. It's just
that would have been a great agree to disagree section, because I can guarantee it's going to be 2-2.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. When I was doing all my best Celtic 11s and stuff, Forrest was in there, and I stand by that. For the player that he had been, up to last season, he was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
He was him, Bruni, and McGregor were all the holy trinity of Mr. Celtics. Were fantastic, and I still believe it. But I just think the injuries are starting to come. He's not got the pace that he once had. Maybe another year, see how he goes, see if he can find his form again, and then maybe if we got to that, maybe give him a 2-year. That would still take him to his 3. But it was like I was trying to count up how many minutes of football he'd actually played for us, and I couldn't work it out. And that's bad to say. It used to be like, Forrest could be up there with McGregor, playing almost every game, and I'm like, Forrest is still there.
Yeah.
So 1 year I would have thought, and then seen how he went, because I wouldn't have wanted to get rid of him. I wouldn't have even sent him out on loan. I would be like, give him something. But I think 3 years is too much. Again, you brought up McCarthy. I've seen bus stops have more activity than him. It's crazy. I don't understand it. What you could have used that to give contract extensions to some of the guys that have played really well this season and deserve it. But then again, that's just my humble opinion, lads.
I don't think anything's wrong with questioning it. Obviously, Anthony, you said there would be a good agree to disagree, Simon, because I know we're used to going with it. But I mean, you look at it. I'm coming across much like Andrew is. If you weigh up the minutes he's played, the impact he's had in the squad. Yes, he scored in the semi-final, got us through to the final of the cup. I know one of these will bring that up, and he's a vital player in terms of experience around about the squad, which is fair enough. But you look at it, Anthony, 3 years. He's looking a wee bit injury prone towards the end of his career. He came back at a point after Christmas. He played a couple of games and he was out again for like 6 weeks. I know what's your opinion?
I must admit, I was shocked at the length of the deal that's been given. But by the same point, I think we have to take that as a massive vote of confidence for the guy who's just resurrected our club for the Ashes. And if it's good enough for Ange, it's good enough for me. In terms of James Forrest, himself, I totally agree that he said he had a really bad injury last season, which we got him back with the last few games of the season last year, and we thought he was going to kick on, and then it re-aggravated. So I totally take the injury part of it, but by the same token, I also think for we say about the prospects coming through. You look at it, all they have to do is look at what a guy like James Forrest has achieved at the club. James Forrest tomorrow will become, I believe, I think it's either the 5th or the 4th most decorated player in Celtic's history. He'll pick up his 20th medal, so he'll only be behind the likes of, I think it's Jimmy Johnston, Bobby Lennox is the top 25 one as a player, Billy McNeil 23 as a player only. I know he obviously won more as a manager. And so and Scott Brown, so he is right up there amongst the greats in terms of medals won, and he's got the stats and the numbers to back it up. I think he is. I would rather he was, perhaps I get that he's not going to be a first team starter going forward. Obviously, it seems like a bada, and God willing, if we get Jota in on a permanent deal, those guys will be ahead in the pecking order, and that's absolutely deservedly so. But there's a lot worse players than James Forrest to have around the dressing room. And I'm not trying to compare him to Danny McGrain. I appreciate that they're two completely different players, or John Clark either. But, what must it be like when a guy joins Celtic and he sees a Lisbon Lion, the all-conqueror, still laying out the kits, when they see Danny McGrain still there, Scotland's greatest ever right-back, still there as a part of the club. I accept that he's a long way before he achieves that kind of status in terms of age, but in terms of what he's won on the pitch, the numbers don't lie. And James Forrest is an absolutely fantastic role model for anyone coming through. You know, you see what he's achieved at Celtic, and you never see him in the papers. He doesn't do, you know, you don't see him falling out of pubs, or you don't see it. He's a quiet guy, a humble guy. He's more than earned his status at Celtic for me. And I think he'll just watch this space. I think he'll still be very useful in what I believe will be a few more successful league and cup campaigns to come.
Yeah, but first of all, before I address what you said there, Brian comes in. You're looking suave as fuck, Tony boy. There you go. And then
Thanks, Brian.
Danny
Hail,
boy
hail,
comes
my
in.
man.
Ross says, "Gotta trust the manager definitely." Again, 100% get what people are saying, but I'll come back to my point. If you're weighing it up in terms of a player he has experienced, yes, it's great to have around the team, which is fantastic and all that. But you still want them to contribute. But I do hope. I really do hope, as Anthony says, next season he comes back to form. The usual James, he gets 10 or 11 goals a season. It'd be absolutely amazing. But for now, I much like what Andrew said, maybe a 1-2 year extension and see how he goes from there.
Very good point, well made as well, Anthony. Well, I really hope I do eat my words.
I've got. Listen, anybody that's saying that James Forrest, it's not the right way to go. Of course, they're happy to eat their words. But you said something there, Stephen, about him contributing. Now, James Forrest has no featured a lot in the last number of weeks, but he featured against Hearts last weekend, and he had an assist. That's a contribution for me, right? James Forrest is 30 years of age. 30-year-old is not old for a football player in this day and age. Scott Brown was finished at 30. And then Brendan Rodgers came in and resurrected him, and he played his best football in his Celtic career for 30 to 33, I think it was. Now, I totally take on board your point about his injuries. He said that Ange alluded to it the day in his presser. He said a tough couple of years with injury. And you can't get away from that. He hasn't played the amount of minutes that we would like, that James Forrest himself would like. And I totally take on board that there's probably guys in front of him now, with Jota and Abada, who have came in and been brilliant. But again, like Anthony, he's a consummate professional. He's an example. Ange said it himself. He sees him in training. He sees what he brings in training. I'm sure, almost, I'm trying to quote this, he said something along the lines of, like, okay, the end product, which is the game, is not there at the minute, but what he does in training, Abada and even Jota, to an extent, will be learning off of James Forrest every single day. They'll be learning how to play the role. They'll be learning about the club. Everything. For me, you say you're surprised by a 3-year deal. I think it was yourself, Andrew, that said you don't think he's earned a 3-year deal. I think the service he's given to the club alone has earned him that 3-year deal. I think he's been a fabulous player for Celtic. Okay, in his early years, I think he's at times. What's this? The plants are. What is he on about, man? Like, see when his early part of his Celtic career, you could say in the big games, James Forrest went missing, and he absolutely did at times. But in other game, you could see there was a really good player developing there, and he was young. That's what happens with young players. That's what happens with young wingers, because you're knowing the periphery of the game all the time when you're playing as a winger. You need to be brought into the game. But James Forrest has given us his peak years, and in those peak years, he's been absolutely outstanding, and he's delivered trophy after trophy, medal after medal for him. He brought goals into his game under Brendan Rodgers. I just think there's a place in the squad for James Forrest for the next 3 years, and I'm absolutely delighted for him. I think when he leaves Celtic, I think he already is, in my opinion. When he leaves Celtic, he'll go down as a Celtic legend. He was part of the quadruple treble winning team, and I just think that he probably won't play every single game. Under Ange, but when James Forrest, God willing, gets a good pre-season under his belt and he stays fit and healthy, he's a great player to have in that team, that squad. As I say, he might not be the first choice. He probably won't be the first choice. But he still might be a go-to in big games in Europe. Maybe away from home or that. Go to that experience. I think it's a great acquisition, and it's brilliant to get him tied down for another 3 years. I'm just a massive fan of James Forrest, and I'll never ever waver for that.
100%.
I totally, sorry, Steve. Just a quick look. This is a quick point. It's just a thought that when this 3-year contract ends for James Forrest, there's no guarantee that will be the end of his story, depending on how the next 3 years go. We're looking at a very realistic chance now of when the day comes when he does hang up his boots, he will be on the pitch. On the pitch, I'm talking obviously not as a coach or a manager. He could well be the most decorated player in Celtic's history.
Absolutely,
so it's no mean feat.
Yeah, 100% get both your points, and like me and Andrew just alluded to, we hope we do either words. It's just we're going off the here and now kind of thing. He's an absolute legend at Celtic Football Club, you know what I mean? And I do hope he comes back next season after a fresh pre-season, gets fit again and bombs on that squad 100%. 1967 comes in. We need old heads to help the young lads coming through. And Anthony, that's kind of more evident at the minute now after Celtic released the news today that Tom Rodzik and Nir Tom will be departing the club after, was it 9 and 10 years both, or was it both 9 years? It was along them lines.
I think Tom Rogic signed, I think it was in the January of the season of Neil's, like the first year we won the championship, 2011-12, but didn't feature very much. Actually, if I remember correctly, he went back on loan
he did,
for a little while as well. Nir arrived in the summer, I think of, in that summer. So it was it was the year that we had the pinstripe hoops. He signed that year. So incredible service for both guys. Now, with your indulgence, Stephen, I'll pay a wee tribute to both of them. I'll start off with Nir Beaton because he's been around so long now. We always do. He's almost he's been like the ghost of the feast somewhat because he's always just been on the periphery. I feel slightly sorry for him in a little bit because we always sign as a fantastic defensive midfielder. That's I think what he was signed as primarily. But just through his versatility and just that kind of attitude that he had, he was put in lots of different positions, primarily through most European qualifying campaigns at centre back, where sometimes the fact that he isn't a centre half was plain for all to see. But he never complained, and he had a couple of bad injuries, but he was always there. And you noticed as well, a lot of no matter how the first team regulars or the ones coming through, he seemed to be a really good part of the dressing room. And I'm delighted that he leaves as a champion. And for what I gather, he's apparently a good laugh at his local hairdressers as well. So I'll start with him. All the best to him. I hope he goes on to have a successful career. And then secondly, on to the Wizard of Oz. I mean, what more can you say about this guy? I mean, he's the most handsome man on planet Earth. I mean, his mom must be some lookers, man. Whatever night they conceived him must have been the greatest night in the history of mankind. I love him to bits. I accept that we were talking about the Barcelona game earlier, and we've all been to massive games at Celtic Park over the years. Derby triumphs, title wins, European glory nights. Barcelona, Liverpool, Manchester United. We've seen them all at Celtic Park, one way or another. And I accept stopping the 10 and maybe other successes over the years have perhaps been more important or whatever. But I think just primarily as in a single moment, Tom Rogic is probably responsible for the happiest moment in my Celtic supporting life. When he dances through that Aberdeen defence, doesn't matter how many times you watch it, and just sinks it in the bottom corner in injury time to seal an unprecedented invincible treble. I mean, it's absolutely spine tingling just thinking about it. I remember we were in Malone's that day with the boys, and it wasn't even, because Ross will tell you I'm quite reserved when I watch the football. But you know, when when that goal went in, I couldn't even really go my usual crazy self. I kind of sank to my knees, just could not believe what I was witnessing. It is, and just the way he grabs the jersey, runs into the crowd, he's a phenomenon, and he's always been, you know, can he last the 90 minutes and whatnot, but more often than not when he plays, he's done the damage in the limited time that he's been on the park. He's always good for a goal against Rangers. He's, when we've got further in Europe, he's always been good for a big game in the Champions League as well. Honestly, Lanky, you want to see me, mate. You want to see me. But no,
he's barred for my house.
I can barb for him. I think even Wally was happy to see me go Easter Sunday. No, it's just, I can't say enough about Tom Rogic. He's one of those guys. He's an absolute, he's like an artist with a ball at his feet. Some of the things he can do, and I'm glad that he's stayed for one more year and he leaves as what he arrived as a champion. And I don't actually even think it's ridiculous to suggest that goal, that epic image of him running away. I don't think it's ridiculous to suggest that there should be some permanent tribute to that outside Celtic Park, because what that goal achieved, what it cemented for us, nothing will ever come close to the Lisbon Lions, you know, at our club or elsewhere. Nothing that anyone achieves will ever come into that same stratosphere. But to do it on their anniversary, to give them an unprecedented invincible treble as an anniversary present, you couldn't have written it any sooner. And yeah, all the best. I'm going to miss him. I'll probably shed a tear tomorrow when he's walking round with his the trophy in hand. But yeah, all the best to him.
I'm not going to lie, like, that was a brilliant tribute there. I mean, I watched some of the videos today. Anthony had a few tears in my eyes, even with Beaton. Like, Beaton for me, I'll start with him first. Yes, he came in as a centre defensive midfielder. That was his best position. And as you rightly said, he got moved to the centre back in European games. Multiple managers played him there. But Postecoglou, to be fair to him, started playing him in that role again. He looked back to his best, breaking up the play, doing the simple passes. And there was points in the season where we're actually getting in our starting lineups. We were all wanting him in because he was playing that well. So that's credit to him for getting back to that kind of form. I'll miss Beaton for the simple reason. You ever see them funny videos of him and Tierney when Tierney was there, like slapping Beaton, and he just looked a right laugh. And every kind of video Celtic put up on social media, he was involved in all the jokes, and what a guy. And like with Tom Rogic, Anthony, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. He's a man who just makes a difference in every kind of game he plays. But I know there's some times where he can go missing and we're like, come on, Roger, you could do better than that. But when he turns up, he is absolutely phenomenal. And you're like, the happiest moment, as you said, the invincible treble for me in my lifetime, that was incredible. I watched it again just to refresh my memory. He took the ball on the right-hand side, went into the box and a wee dink over the keeper, runs away to the right-hand side and into the stand, and it's just incredible. It's just fantastic. And he's going to be missed. It was great that he stayed for the next season to be a champion again. Likewise with Beaton, Postecoglou, 2 Aussies winning the league with Celtic. That's fantastic. And Andrew, coming to yourself, and both fantastic servants for the club. I think one of them has 18 major honours, one has 16 major honours, and it's incredible achievements by both. 9 years plus at the club, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, it's a dying breed these days. Well, they have that longevity of service, and devote so much of your life to one club. There's the holy trinity of Brown, McGregor, and Forrest that have done it as well. So having Beaton and Rogic a part of that, it makes it a famous 5 for me. It's fantastic. Anthony, I imagine that you'll be carving the Tom Rogic statue after we come off this podcast. To rival Sergio Aguero's that was unveiled today.
Oh my God!
That same style.
It's like somebody, one of the big Art Attack numbers, but even worse. Honestly, if anything was to sum up Manchester City, it's that statue, man. An utter embarrassment.
Yeah, well, I actually seen it and I thought, is that paint by numbers? Genuinely, the amount of holes that was in it, I was like, what is going on? But back to the Wizard of Oz. Everybody remembers where they were that day when that goal went in. Like, I remember my wife had dragged me to the Forge in Glasgow, and I just remember sitting in one of the chairs, being like, right, I am not moving, because I knew something was happening. And the second that Rogic scored that goal, I was like, right, I cannot believe what I'm witnessing here. This is amazing. We are getting back in the car and getting back to the house for a party. I don't care. I'm going like 70 miles an hour down a 20/20. Through it because it was crashing down, so it was flooding everywhere. My wife is terrified, thinking I'm gonna sink the car, and I'm like, this ain't no Titanic. We are getting home. And just getting BBC Scotland on, sitting there drinking it all in. I was like, this is brilliant. This is what it feels to be Celtic. And if it wasn't for that goal, like you touched on, Anthony, I personally don't think the quadruple treble would have happened. I think that was the thing, the catalyst, the spark that made us go,
yeah,
let's see how far we can go with this. We've already done the impossible by our standards to lose. It was fantastic. And Near Beaton, I've always been a fan of Near Beaton, a good cult hero. The only place that he never played for us was in goal. I was just recently, like Stephen was doing beforehand, I was watching one of his best goals, and it was the 2015, the 2-2 draw with Kilmarnock, and he just blasts it straight into the top corner. Beautiful goal. And he just made you realise, he's got some amount of skill. Yes, he could be a bomb scare, the infamous Rangers red card will always be the blotch on his record for me, but he had some. He'd say Harry's not retiring. I'm hoping that they go on to. I'm hoping they go on to more success at other clubs. I really wish them all the best. They'll always be welcome at Paradise. But 2 goals that will sum that up. It's got to be the Wizard of Oz against Aberdeen, and that one for me against Kilmarnock. I'm just glad that Beaton never played in goals, because by fuck, that would have been a catastrophe.
It can't be any worse than Barcast, to be fair.
Hey.
We should have sold Barcast and gave them both extra deals. Paid them whatever they wanted for another season.
I think Jed Thomas comes in here with a great point. Ross said B. Tom was very emotional today in his interview with Celtic TV. He was literally crying. I know it was only a clip. We're going to see the rest of it next week, but it's just what it means to these guys. And there was a clip of Roger come past the training ground, and he just shouted last time, and it got me. It got me. It really did. I was like, oh my god, you can feel yourself going a wee bit just watching these clips, and you relive the goals, the Aberdeen goals. He played well in Europe against certain clubs, Beaton and them European qualifiers, whether it be fucking Hapoel Beersheva, he's centre back and was still managed to claw our way through. And just these guys, as Andrew rightly said, it's what it feels to be Celtic Football Club, the longevity of their careers, isn't it?
I mean, I've not seen the clips you're talking about, so I really need to see that. I need to see the Rogic one when he says last time, because that's poignant, man. I mean, I sort of touched on Beaton the other night when I was on, but again, the longevity, unbelievable. What's Uncle?
I was saying it's only Callum McGregor and Forrest left for the Invincible season. It's incredible how quick times change. It was only 5 years, but incredible how time quickly it goes.
That's football, man. But Beaton, the longevity is incredible. And as I say, I touched on it the other night. He was used a lot of the time in a centre half position that's just not his position. And I think this season sort of has shown that any time he's played, he's not featured a lot this season, but any time he has played, he's been very, very good. I'm sure it was Kevin 14 had said over the time when Beaton's had a good game, he's one of the best players in the park, and I totally agree with that. When he's playing well and he's in the middle of the park and he's playing that 6 role and he's sort of, dare I say, dictating the pace of the game, he controls the game, certainly domestically. I think he's a very good midfielder. He played with Celtic in a time where we were blessed with copious amounts of very good midfielders. So he couldn't always get in the team, but when he played as a midfielder for Celtic, he never really let us down. I don't think. And this season, again, he didn't play a lot, but I don't think his contribution in terms of helping Abada settle in and taking him under his wing to the point where Abada was calling him his da. I don't think that can be underestimated. Do you know what I mean? It's not always on the park. Beaton has brought him in. He's helped him settle in. He's given us a year to help that laddie settle in, and his numbers speak for themselves, and that's him not playing every single game. Abada will kick on again. He's hopefully, I mean, I don't know his personal situation, but hopefully with Beaton having helped him along the way, he'll be good. And for Beaton to leave as a title winner, I think is very, very fitting. Moving on to Tom Rogic, I mean, what can you say? That guy is...
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Honestly, this is... Do you know that way? Do you know that way though? When Larsson left, right? You knew it was coming, and it was tough to take, right? For a number of weeks now, there's been that sort of whisperings about it, and I felt it was coming. I didn't want to believe it because I was like, how can that possibly be happening? It's not a football decision by Celtic because he's given us his best season, I would say. Or, I mean, he's given us a lot of good seasons, but it's right up there this season. In terms of minutes, you can't argue it's his best season. But
his fitness and all's gone up.
Aye, and that's down to Ange. But I can't. As I say, you knew it was coming, and this since Larsson is probably the one. And I know there's probably really big players left, but they've left off their own accord. If you know what I mean, like or they've wanted to leave. Rogic is no want to leave because he doesn't want to beat Celtic anymore. It's for different reasons. He's given us so many years, and this is as close as I'll feel to when Larsson left. I think that's the biggest tribute I can pay him. And obviously, touching on moments that he's given us, obviously Andrew spoke about the Kilmarnock moment. I mean, I was working that day. As you know, I work for myself. I was starting to build up my business at that time, and I was doing a lot of weekends and stuff. So I always remember I was working on a job and I had the radio on, and that game was it was huge in terms, like we were probably going to win the league anyway, but that sort of like it just like pushed it through that it was happening, and it was a last minute goal. And I was nervous as hell, painting away. And the next minute, you just hear Richard Gordon, who, by the way, I think he's leaving BBC Scotland at the end of the season. And he's synonymous. He's synonymous with that station. And he commentated on it, I always remember it. And then seeing it later on, what a strike. Then you're talking about the goal that Anthony spoke about, to win the treble. Unbelievable. Again, I've spoken about this before, but he picks it up. He like is absolutely no right to do what he done, but that's just what Tom Rogic does. And I mean, there I've got my wine on a coaster, and Rogic is on a coaster. There you go.
No way.
Can I get it
over?
There he's there. That's the quadruple treble coaster.
Fantastic.
So, Rogic is on a coaster. He's made it, man. But he's given us so many unbelievable moments. The two we've spoke about. Even this season, the goal at Motherwell, unbelievable goal. Just Tom Rogic all over the back. Countless goals against Rangers. The curler in the 3-2 game. The goal against them at Ibrox this season, an absolutely humongous goal in terms of us winning this league title. A goal at Hampden, where he's fallen on his arse and he still manages to get enough on it to get the ball in the net past the best goal in the world, Al McGregor. But he's an absolute magician. He's given us magical moments just in his 9 years, and he's got a head of hair like a bloody funeral coat. What a guy, man. He's a legend.
Stephen, sorry, see, just before you move on, I just wanted to, I was going to mention the Kilmarnock goal, but I thought I went on long enough talking about the Invincible goal, but I just want to say exactly what Ross is bang on there. It was my dad's birthday weekend that day. We were all at the house. Now, I don't remember, that was Ronnie's final season when things were, let's just say, things weren't great. Celtic kicked off in the early game that day on Sky. Had we dropped points that day, which we were a minute or two away from doing, and if Aberdeen had won that afternoon at Fir Park, they would go top of the league with 5-6 games to go. Maybe a little bit more than that, actually, because it was still in March at the time. But I think that the way the season went, we'd played more games. Ross is bang on. We probably would have ended up winning it anyway, just we would have got over it over the 38 games. But it just puts that goal into context. And then it knocked the wind out of Aberdeen's sails. They went and lost at Fir Park that afternoon. We kept up, I think it was a 4-point cushion or something like that, and we just kicked on and we won it at a canter in the end. But it just you always wonder what would have happened had we dropped points that day. Would Aberdeen have found a second wind and pushed on? I think we'd still to go to Pittodrie after that, so you just never know. So his contribution to Celtic is you cannot put it into words.
I think that's how I nearly scaled a 2.5 litre tin of Zinzer bin primer, and that's dear stuff, by the way. I knew how much that goal meant.
I think as well, Brian Warrior comes in saying the jersey certainly didn't need the strength to fit Tom Rodgers, and that's 100% true. And another thing it kind of takes away from Celtic podcast in general, we put this in the group chat today, the whole Tom Rodgers or Man O'Reilly debate's gone. What's near Beaton's best position? It's gone. Thanks, guys, for leaving us in the lurch. But see, tomorrow is going to be. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you know what else is gone? Me on the podcast calling Rogic Beaton and Beaton Rogic, because I fucking do it all the time. I noticed that I'd done it on Tuesday. I watched it back and I was like, what's that piss you're talking, Ross?
See, when you guys do get to your 200th, you've got to do a clip show of how many times he calls Rogic Beaton and vice versa.
I think we're gonna try and do a blooper reel for the end of this season, but we'll see how that pans out. But I mean, you look at it, the atmosphere tomorrow is going to be emotional. It's going to be party time. There'll be tears. There'll be laughter. There'll be joy. There'll be everything, and it'll be for everyone going. It'll be a fantastic event to be involved in. But we'll move on to another kind of departure that kind of came out today, Andrew. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it kind of came out later in the day. Christopher Jullien, he did an interview with Goal.com, and he actually shared it on his own Instagram page, so it's true. And there was quotes in it saying that if he doesn't get game time or get on the pitch, basically in a roundabout way, that he'll be leaving. He also claimed that he was fit from early January. Then he hasn't been involved in much squads. Where do you stand on Chris Jullien leaving, if that happens?
What a ball bag. Well, it's perfectly fine if you've got issues, but keep it in house. Keep it in house and address it. Well, we didn't need to hear that, especially when we found out about Rogic and Beaton. This was their day. This was their moment. Friday the 13th is bad enough or something, but fuck me, man, Jullien, did you really have to make it about you? I had a lot of respect for him beforehand. And it went right out the window.
But maybe the interview was done yesterday or the day before. We don't know, but it was released today. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, it's trying to take shine off a moment that should be for two players who have served their time and done great things for the club. As we both pointed out, yes, emotions are a little bit high because of that. But I think Jullien saying that he hasn't been able to get he hasn't been getting the team. Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers have built a solid defensive partnership and have amassed a 31-game unbeaten run. That's not easy to break into. No matter who you are, you play the players that are on form and are gelling, no matter what team it is. I've had discussions with people who support them, and they talked about the infamous Ramsey debate. And they were saying, right, yes, he's the name, but don't put him in the team if he's throwing us off our game. I hate to say it, I was like, I agree, but from the Jullien perspective, he technically is our name and our most expensive signing, but he's not contributing. The guys are, and they deserve to play their last game with us and lift the league title and have their moments in the sun. I think it's just a way of him getting the word out to try and get suitors for him, because I think he'll be shiting himself. In all honesty, if you're not getting the games, you're not getting the TV exposure. People aren't talking about you. You're not getting the agents going, "Oh, this guy's free. This guy's free. Oh, how much could we get for him? He'll come here. He'll come there. He'll come everywhere." You know what? He did the job that he needed to do when he did it. The injuries were unfortunate. We'd have loved to have seen him contribute more. But that interview really, really soured me. I'm not going to lie. If he does go, I would wish him the best, like any other player. But yeah, come on.
I totally get what you're saying. And Brown Warrior comes in. Ross with a fantastic point. Superman pose on the training days, Invisible Man on match days. I mean, I don't know if it's as harsh as that, because again, he has been involved in some great results. The Lazio games where he scored in the League Cup game against them. And as Andrew rightly pointed out, we obviously wish him, if he leaves, all the luck in the world. The interview for me, we don't know when it was done, but it was released today. Some comments in it about Ange Postecoglou basically saying that he's not picking him or not involving him, saying he's been fit since January. And he shared it today on his Instagram page. Are you feeling the same? Because I've seen a lot of the comments here. They're kind of feeling the same vibe as Ken Andrews feeling.
I thought it was poor timing. Aye. Chris Jullien, right? He was a record signing at one point, I think. He's come in. He's done great for Celtic in his early period. Then he got his really bad injury in a season where it was a complete shit show. Now, when I look back, you look at him and Ayer playing at the centre-half partnership at Rugby Park, and they got absolutely bullied. We all wanted a strong centre-half in. Whether he was going to replace Jullien or Ayer, we didn't know, but we wanted somebody in to be that strong centre-half that wouldn't get bullied. We brought Duffy in. We thought he would be the guy. We all know history tells us what happened, right? We'll not go over it. Yeah. But Chris Jullien, for me, no, I think he's been good for Celtic. Very good at times. The Lazio game, like you've touched on, comes to mind. He was good for a goal. The cup final when we beat Rangers. He was a threat in the opponent's box. He was a very good player. But Ange didn't sign him. Now, Ange, first and foremost, says when he signs a player, he signs the person first. Now, Jullien, like the boys have said, it's hard to break into that defensive partnership so late in the season. Even in January, you can't expect Ange to split that centre-half partnership up. I don't care who you are. They were keeping clean sheets and they were playing really well together, and they'd built up an understanding. So it doesn't matter who you are. You didn't just walk into that. But I'm not saying I know Jullien personally, but maybe Ange just doesn't fit the profile as, first of all, a human being, what Ange wants. Because I thought about this. You look around that team, right? You look at Joe Hart, massive, he is a huge name in the game. Whatever you want to say about him, right? No ego whatsoever. Carter Vickers, no ego. Starfelt, no ego. Taylor, no ego. Ralston, no ego. Juranovic. You could go right through that entire team. You look at Giacomakis, maybe a slight ego. I don't think it's ego. I think it's just confidence in his ability. Chris Jullien's got a big ego.
Yeah.
He likes himself a lot. That Superman pose and all that. Maybe he just isn't what Ange wants. And as good a player as you can be, if you don't fit the human element of what Ange wants, then you're not going to be there. And it's as simple as that for me.
I agree. That's great points there. I actually never thought about it from that kind of perspective, Ross, in terms of the egotistic kind of thing. Well
There you
put.
go.
And coming to you, Anthony, to kind of round that bit
Get
off.
my
about
arse
Jullien.
kicked in all the comments tonight, man. Look, you guys are doing brilliant.
Wow, no, you're doing
It's the
superb,
wine talking.
you look at it, Anthony. Is it playing style as well? Because that's kind of come to my head. Because Ange likes his defenders on a high line. Jullien to me is not the quickest. A bit like Duffy in that sense. The turn of pace is a bit like turning the bus at some points, but he's good in the air. He's good. He's good. He's good in the boxes and stuff. He does score goals. But is it just, as Ross said, not Ange's man, and maybe time to move on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you got, like you say about the interview, we don't know when it was done. So to try and give the guy some defence, we don't know when that interview happened. He's got no control over when it's released.
Mm-hmm.
You always got to, sometimes words and statements look worse on paper than what they're actually, when they're spoken.
Yeah.
So we have to look at maybe the context of it. But you do have to say that they do not sound like someone with his heart and desire still at the club. And similar to what Ross said, you know, Ange has been very big about the fact that it's all about you've got to want to be there. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something like very much that he doesn't have a preference either way, whether he stays or goes. Well, like you say, you don't know if that's in translation or not, but that does not sound like somebody who's got a future at Celtic Park. And like you say, you take on board all the great nights that he's given us, and there have been, you know, the winner against Lazio, you know, he scored the winning goal that scored our 10th consecutive honour in a row when we beat Rangers at Hampden that day. So he's got his own little chunk of history in the club and this amazingly successful period we've had. But Ross has absolutely hit the nail on the head there with regards to the ego side of things. I mean, he's
loving this.
a photographer. He's a photographer's dream when it comes to the new strip releases or the new training gear, because
he's beautiful, man.
And
yeah, just like when Freddie Ljungberg signed it.
But there's only one problem. No matter how good he looks in a good bit of training gear or a strip, he doesn't look half as good as Ange does in a pullover. So unfortunately, in the fashion sense and in the football sense, the manager takes top rank. And if Ange doesn't fancy him, I accept what he did, and I'm thankful for his service at the club. But this is, let's be honest, this is not Franz Beckenbauer we're talking about here. And I don't want to say, I don't want to put them all tar them all with the same brush, but I fear we might be entering what I call Incham-itis again. Mm-hmm. To an extent, Edouard was the same as well. I don't know if it's a French sort of thing, or maybe we've just been unlucky, but a lot of these, the French contingent that we've had, seem to hit the ground running, and then when it comes to digging deep in the trenches, they ain't there. Yeah. And I don't want to sound too much like a, you know, Little England or Brexit voter when I have a go at the French, but you know where I'm coming from that.
There's a lot of elements of society had a wee hit the night.
That's it. But if he does,
ask you guys a question.
Yeah,
if that's all right.
Aye.
See, if we were talking about Forrest earlier on with his contract extension, see if we came out with a contract extension for Jullien, what would your reactions have been?
I would be more shocked at Jullien. Well, and again, that maybe goes back to why the contract's been handed out. Maybe Ange looks at James Forrest and sees undoubtedly ability, but he sees the human, everything he's won. Like I say, he's one of the top 5 most honoured players in Celtic's history, and there's not a hint of ego about him. And he thinks, even though he won't be in, week out, we all accept that, but that's somebody I want when things are not going our way. That's a guy I want in the trenches. He maybe takes one look at Jullien and thinks, nah. And there's a lot of good centre-halves out there. And it's good that he's got a year left on his contract. We might be able to recoup some of the big outlay we've had on him. You could argue that some of the days that he's had is maybe he's repaid that fee anyway. But yeah, I think to coin that it's best for both parties, I think, if or all parties, if it was to move on in the summer.
Yeah, I think it's go ahead, Ross. No, I think it's right as well. I think it's right as well. Like, we want Postecoglou to make these tough decisions, We don't want them keeping players who want to be there. We've seen the kind of poisonous effect that had before, but like Ayer, Edward, Incham, and Christie. It was just kind of, they turned up week in, week out, but not really giving their all for Celtic. And if Postecoglou looks at Jullien and says he's not one for me, then no issue from my part if he wants him to go. And the whole contract situation, I'll be firm on what I said before Forrest. Contribution, even though he was injured, has been zero. He's been back since January, hasn't really been involved in the squad, so it would have been a hard no for me in a new contract. What are you thinking, Ross?
In terms of the contract, if he was given a 3-year deal, I wouldn't have any qualms about it, because in terms of what he's done on the park, but again, you don't know if he's going to be the main guy, if you like. But then you look at Carter Vickers and you go, well, is he going to be there? So is that why he's been given the contract? But
that might be a sign.
But, well, that's what I was just coming on to. The very fact that Jullien's come out and said, I'm out of here, kind of thing. I know he didn't say the exact words, but that sort of looks towards the fact that, as Carter Vickers said, I am coming. I'm going to be here. Because when you look at it, right, if we lose, well, we're losing Jullien, we're losing Beaton, we're losing Rogic. If we lose Carter Vickers, that's
a big gap.
It's a big lot of players to lose. And by the way, we lost Christie, we lost Ayer, we lost Edward, and we lost Brown. I was going to say Cham, but we'll scrap that. We lost 3 big players last year. Replaced Brown. There's your 4th, right? They left, and we replaced them. No end. Without any disrespect to they guys, and we won a league title. So we can 100%. Do it again. We can do it again. But
we already know.
We're desperate for Carter. Well, I am desperate for Carter Vickers to come in and be that mainstay. Whether it be, if we bring in another centre half, because I don't mind Starfelt, but he's no playing in his right position. It's unfair in the guy. But you can't argue. He's done well. People say he's a bomb scare. I couldn't recall the last time he made a mistake that cost us.
Who's Starfelt?
And he's playing the wrong side of that.
Oh, right. If we meant wrong position, I was like, what?
No, the wrong side. The wrong side. The pairing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, 100%. I get what you mean. And what we already do know is Postecoglou, you rightly said, he's making moves already. He's putting plans in place with Mark Lawwell, who was confirmed that he was basically behind the Lance Postecoglou appointment by his father Peter in an interview done with an Australian TV company. But we'll move on. And one thing we do know what's going to be moving is party mode. The Celtic Park tomorrow. Anthony will be playing Motherwell lunchtime. Party atmosphere. It'll be emotional with Tom Rogers and Beaton leaving, potentially Jullien as well. But I think the lineup is, we'll do lineup score prediction here, but throw in a couple of curveballs if you like. Any fringe players you want to see coming on for maybe a cameo?
Probably not. I maybe want to give Beaton and Forrest, Rogic their due. I would want to see them feature more than necessarily a Dembele or whatever coming on. I don't know if Dembele's going to be in the squad or not, but listen, these guys' time will come. But I think tomorrow it's about celebrating a fantastic achievement. But I do think the likes of Beaton and even more Rogic, they've earned their place to get a proper send off tomorrow. So when we come to it, I do think especially Rogic will start, because he'll then get brought off probably at 60 minutes and then he will get the amazing ovation that he deserves. But I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, Stephen. It's the last league game of the season. I'll be through early doors. I'll be up 6:30, 7 o'clock tomorrow, still on the cornflakes and straight through. Can't wait. It's going to be quite the day. And I think we'll end the season on a high. I think it'll be quite a comfortable afternoon, to be honest. Motherwell, I'm pretty amazed they actually made the top 6, to be honest. Apart from Kevin Van Veen, they've not really impressed me at all this season. Alistair, funnily enough, I might actually put a similar coupon on myself. I really fancy us to just end the season on a real high tomorrow.
On a show.
Absolutely. I think it'll take to score. Each one will get sent off. I think it'll take us to score 6 or more tomorrow. I really fancy us to just go out and do it. So I think the boys that will put on that show, I think it'll be Joe Hart and goals to start. I think you'll probably have I think it'll be the usual back four. I don't see anything changing there. Since it's not, unfortunately we don't have a cup final or that to prep for, so I think we'll go all out with the big guns. But I think it'll be Rogic instead of O'Reilly to start, and I think that's only fair, and that will give him a send off. I think Calmac will start, but Beaton will come on. So both ways, both of these guys will get a fantastic ovation. And apart from that, I think it'll actually be pretty much the team from Wednesday night. I think you'll have Maid on the left, Jot on the right, and I think I think he'll start with Kyogo, and then I think Giacomakis will come on later on in the second half. So probably looking more like a team from last week.
100%. Jed Thomas comes in pretty confident like yourself, Anthony. I think Eddie will score tomorrow. Put yourself down. The team, we'll see what happens. Coming to yourself for us, as you said, putting on a show. This is Glasgow Celtic. Love it. What do you think it's going to be tomorrow in terms of lineup and score prediction?
Lineup. I'm going to rechange. I think Beaton will be in goals. Nah. I think it'll be obviously Joe Hart. I think Juranovic trained this week. He could be put back in possibly. So I'll just go with Juranovic. Then obviously you're back. You're placed it for the last 5 minutes. You're Starfelt, Carter Vickers, and Greg Taylor. I think Beaton will start for me. I think he'll get the start and then get brought off for the ovation. And I think it'll be probably Turnbull and Rogic. And again, Rogic will come off for the ovation. They'll come off at different times. And I think it'll probably be Maeda and Forrest and Giacomakis. And the score will be 6-1 to Celtic.
Nice one. Conceding a goal.
Aye. Beaton's in
Chris
goal
Jullien
for
on
5
goal,
minutes.
the 93rd minute.
And yourself, Andrew Brown Warrior, comes in, Snoop running on with a 14 skinner hanging out of his grid. And do you think we're going to be expecting Snoop Dogg tomorrow? Because obviously he did say that he'll be over for a party if Celtic win the title. We never know. He could be there.
Hopefully he sings Stan. Love that song, man. What's happening?
What's your score lineup prediction, Andrew? Include Snoop if you want.
I mean, Brown definitely took my line away. I was like, is Snoop coming? That's the main question. That's the only tension of tomorrow that I've got. I want to know if Snoop is going to be there. I want to see him.
Snoop is there in the canteen.
Oh man. Well, I need a holiday.
Oh, sweet Moses.
Put me on gardening leave, mate. But I would really love to see Jullien having a start just for a put up or shut up to see if he bomb scares it. Like to go for like a 5 at the back. Like going or like a 3-5-2 essentially. Going that way to see what could he play with the Fridge and Starfelt. I don't think he could, but I would just love to see if you think you could break in there. Well, let's see what you've got. As a final, obviously, like Hart is basically like what it's the Ron seal of positions. It's exactly what it says in the tin. Hart's just got to be there. There's no one else. But I think we
Ron seal shite, by the way. It's pish pig.
I forgot I was talking to the main guy there.
Screwfix.
Fuck it. I'm getting screw fixed tonight, man. What the way it's going.
No, you're not.
I am not on form I'm on worse form than Jullien, man.
It's because you're on the vanilla zero Coke, man.
It's that
Zero
vanilla,
and
man.
vanilla. It's zero and vanilla, mate.
That's what's happening.
I'm only kidding you on, man. I'm only kidding you on.
Yeah, I'm like Scotland getting to any like type of like qualifier. I'm just glad to be there. I'm glad to be here. It must be the hat. Next time I'll have to take the hat off. It's cutting the circulation in my brain. but honestly, I couldn't see much wrong from Anthony's kind of lineup. What I would say, I think the people that they should be in there, for his lineup deserve to be there. Make sure that we get the ovations. That's the main part for me. And I would really want to see them do Motherwell just because my boss is a Motherwell fan, and he's leaving anyway. So, I'll go for a solid 5-0.
I like it.
Yeah.
So do. And then as well, Phil comes in here. I need an appearance on this podcast. Nobody gives Tannadice a sponsor. I'll go myself. I'll go Joe Hart, Juranovic, Starfelt, Vickers, Taylor. I'll go Beaton to start, Kalmak and Rozic. And then I'll go Jada, Kyogo, Maeda. And I'll go 6-0 to Celtic Football Club for the party of the decade when the title's back at Celtic Park. Go ahead, Ross.
I was just going to say, I put Turnbull in the number 8. Bloody pish. I agree with you. Kalmak should be in there. It's the captain. I don't even know what I was talking about, man. That was just that stupid.
You were obsessed with my vanilla Coke, man.
and then Jed Thomas. We've sensed it tonight, boys. We absolutely have. And also, this
me and Ryan number 3.
This brings us towards the end of the podcast.
Ryland should play them all.
Ryland could play them all right enough.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I'm going to say it again. The support we have received, especially since going live, has been fantastic. The interaction grows week in, week out. We have like our own little community. We're always in there debating with each other. Unbelievable. It's fantastic. We appreciate the support. And coming up this kind of week after the Motherwell game, when we have that party, we'll be having a sit-down chat with Japanese journalist Dan Orlowitz on the Sunday. So kind of reaction after, talking about Ange Postecoglou's life in Japan and the transition to Scotland, because he kind of knows everything Ange. And then we'll look ahead to our big end-of-season review, boys, with everyone on. And we'll be having the party. And what I will say to the viewers is, get your beer, get your wine, get your spirits in now, because it's going to be a long one next Friday night. It could go on the whole night. It's going to be a party atmosphere. But from you guys, have you enjoyed this one?
Well, I've loved it, man. Well, it's just been great to be back. And to everybody else, don't come on with Coke Zero with vanilla. You'll get crucified. The pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me back.
No, thanks for coming on, Andrew.
Always welcome.
Appreciate you.
I've loved it, mate. Loved being back on. We've been chomping at a bit to get on. As this is our first, we had our first trophy back in December. This is our first podcast as official league champions. So from now on, as the best podcast dedicated to the Scottish League champions. So this is it. And by the way, that title is going to remain for a long time. Believe you me.
And Ross, anything to add?
It's been good, man.
And again, to everyone watching along, stay well and keep safe, and have in the back of your mind, Glasgow Celtic champions. Hail, hail.